Hello everyone, my name is Josh Alexander and welcome back to another very mediocre video. In today's mediocre video, we're going to be talking about why the D3400 is still relevant in 2020. And being a Nikon shooter, mostly, I'm starting to switch over now that I have more experience, but for being a Nikon shooter most of my career, this is probably one of my favorite cameras I've ever used in the line, just because A, it was my first camera and it was my first real step into the world of photography, and also it's just a great little camera. It's absolutely love the dang thing. Also this time, I have notes and a monitor. It's over there, so if you occasionally see me look that direction, it's because my monitor's there. But also I have notes this time. So maybe this vid, it's still gonna be bad. It's still gonna be absolutely horrible, but I try. First thing I need to say about this camera is that it's a Nikon camera, and also that it's a DX format, which means that it's a crop sensor. If you didn't see my last video, I talked a little bit about that for like 10 seconds, but basically what that means is that with the full frame camera, you have a larger area that takes the picture, and then you have that larger box on that sensor. But seeing as this is a crop sensor or a DX sensor, the picture is going to be relatively smaller in comparison to an FX camera, which is a lot larger. My favorite thing about the D3400 and why I think that it is a very good camera for people starting off is its size and its guidance mode. I'm just gonna be real with you, Chief. This camera is small. This camera is very small. I mean, it's only 13 ounces, technically 14, it's 13.9, and it's 5 inches by 4 inches by 3 inches. It is a very small little camera. And you get your size with most cameras whenever you put a lens on them. The lens is like most of the mass, but this camera is ridiculously small. Like, this is it compared to my 7 Plus. I mean, look at that. I mean, the size of this thing is, it is tiny. It's a very small camera. And it's one of the reasons I like it, because you can throw it in a bag when you go hiking or something like that, and you'll always have that little camera in there, and you can just pop a little lens on it. I mean, when I fuck, I got so sidetracked. That scared the fuck out of me. When I got this little camera, I had an 18-55 with it, and I'll talk about the price here in a second. But when I got this camera, I bought it used, and I always buy all my camera gear used. I want to make a whole video about that in the future, but right now, just want to talk about the camera. But when I bought this camera, I bought it with two lenses. I bought it with an 18-55 and a 70-300, both of them being VRDX lenses. And I'll put the links to everything I had in the description below, so if you're curious about exactly what I had, I'll leave all the links to it. It was such a small setup. If I had that 18-55, the lens pretty much came off only like an inch or two off the body itself. And having that little lens on there, it was just a perfect little landscape lens. You can get 18 is still a very decent landscape. You can go all the way up to 55, when 50 is around what the eye sees. So it was honestly a great little lens, and that's my first big point on why I like this camera. Second point on why I like this camera, megapixels. 24 is 24 megapixel camera. It is phenomenal. I have never really had any issues with resolution scale with this thing, and the cropping on it is great. I mean, even with the DX format, having that 24 megapixel, you can still get a large image of 6,000 by 4,000 roughly. It can shoot JPEG and it can shoot RAW. Don't know why you'd shoot JPEG ever, but I mean, I started out in JPEG, so I can't really diss it too much, but I mean, it does both, and it does it really well. And that's my second point of why I really enjoy this camera. Third point, the guidance menu. This thing has a built-in guidance menu, which when I started out was phenomenal. Was absolutely phenomenal. That being said, I still think if you really want to get into this, you should pick up a magazine guidebook. Bought this at a bookstore for like 10 bucks. And basically what it is it just talks about the different Nikon cameras, and it goes over different settings, and it tells you what shutter speed and ISO and aperture and everything is. Because when I first started out, I had no fucking clue what any of this shit was. And I didn't know where to start. So I just went through and I just bought a book and I read it. This isn't the one I bought. This is another one. But the one I bought was like 200 pages. And it just literally went through every single setting and every single menu and everything. It was great, and now I know so much about this little camera because of that. The thing I like about this camera is the ISO. It can do up to 100 to 25,600, which is very extreme, but I used to do a lot of astrophotography, so having that ISO was very cool. It was very grainy, of course, but having that, if you want to do anything crazy like that. The second highest time, I've jacked up to 12,800 one time when I was in the Grand Canyon and it was just pitch black out. And I wanted to try to get a good vista. Didn't use that photo because it was so grainy, but there are a few things that I dislike about this camera, however. And there were more later stage type things. I should have prefaced towards the beginning that this is a great photography camera. I don't shoot video on this thing at all. It has the ability to do 60 frames a second at 1080p, but it doesn't have a mic jack. And that's very frustrating. That is so frustrating. Has no log processing or anything like that, so you're not going to be able to do any cinema grade anything really with this, but it only has a micro USB and an HDMI. That's pretty much it. And it does have Bluetooth, which is nice if you want to use SnapBridge or anything like that. And when I was on the road, that was a phenomenal feature because I didn't really have a computer or an iPad or anything at the time that I really edited on. So just being able to or any like SD readers or anything. So I could just send the photos straight from here to my smartphone. And that was very cool with SnapBridge, but it's very slow, especially if you shoot bulk. But going back to the video situation, it doesn't have a mic jack and doesn't have a headphone jack either. It's not going to be a video camera. It is very much going to be a photo camera. And I think that should be the main thing that you're going for if you're wanting to get this. Originally, when I first got this camera, it was recommended to me by my old boss, Wayne. And I ended up getting it, and that's where I started. And I'm very thankful that he pushed me in that direction because this thing has so many amazing little features in here, like in the ISO screen. It shows you optimal conditions and optimal environments for certain ISOs. And it tells you things about subjects being too dark and overexposure areas and using the correct modes in certain ways. I mean, this thing, and the amount of like different preset menus it has so many little preset menus that you are able to assess a situation, and then that has a preset menu according to that situation. So if you are starting out, this is a great camera. But if you want to be like a vlogger and have like a 2-in-1 type camera deal, just look at Sony. Sony is phenomenal, and so's Canon. Nikon's not going to be the best for that because you can get like a D5600, but it's still not going to be a great. It is going to be good, but it's not going to be amazing cinema grade film quality. You're just not going to get that in that camera. If you want to go cinema, get a GH5, which is what I'd recommend because what I have. Get a Blackmagic 6K or 4K if you have the money. Get a Red. Now, you're not going to get an Arri Alexa, or a Red. You don't have that money. I don't have that money. I wish I had that money, but I don't. And I've shot video before. I mean, it's great if you're just going around the house shooting videos of your kids or something like that, but for me, making stuff like this type of content, I wouldn't be able to do it on here. It's just how it is. That all being said, this camera with the 18 to 55 lens new goes for around $400. Now, I didn't. Oh, fuck! I'm gonna sneeze. Hey, damn it! I'm so sorry. I'm sick. It's cold. It's cold here. I want to make a video though because I enjoy making content, but I'm just dying and I don't have too much time to make videos. With that all being said, this camera with an 18 to 55 lens, which is one of the lenses I had, runs for around $400 new. I didn't do that, obviously. I don't buy new gear. I bought this camera, an 18 to 55 VR, and a 70 to 300 VR for $300 all in. It was a camera bundle on Facebook Marketplace. And I would 100% recommend trying to buy used. You just have to know what you're getting into, so do some more research on this camera before then. Utilize the menus, because a lot of people, they'll make lookalikes, but the menus will be off, or it'll just be a shell, or those are things you have to look for. And it's sad that that's our world now, but it just is. And you have to be able to assess kind of what's going on to know when you're getting a good deal. But regardless, I was able to do that, and in doing so, I bought this thing 9 months ago. I've shot at least 20,000 photos on it, and I've been all over the country with it. And I have extreme tested this thing. I've been on the Colorado River when it was like 120 degrees. It wasn't. It was like 109, but it felt like it. felt like 120 degrees. I've been in the extreme cold where it's been like -12, and it works great. The batteries on this thing recharge really fast, which is another great thing I like about this camera. But that, alongside most of the features I said, if you can find it used for a very good price, I would say around $300, I would 100% buy this if you're getting into this. Now, if you've been doing photography for like 10 years and you have like a 5D or something crazy and you're like, I'm looking for a new camera, I wouldn't buy this, obviously. If you're a beginner and you really want to get into photography, take a look at this camera. It is a great little camera, and I may be a bit biased because it was my first camera, but this is just one of the experiences I got with it. And being able to know this thing inside and out, and all of the menus and all of the settings and everything, has allowed me to get into bigger cameras, like cinema grade cameras like the GH5, or some Sonys, or some Sony A7 IIIs and some Canon 5Ds, stuff like that. It's the gateway. It's a gateway camera. I wouldn't recommend getting something like this if you want to get heavily into photography. A lot of people were telling me like, well, I'm interested in photography, should I get like a J3, which is like it's a Nikon kind of mirrorless camera with an extended lens. I wouldn't. Get a DSLR. It will allow you to excel in a different way than that thing will. So all in all, this camera is a great little camera. I don't know what to rate it. I don't even know if I should rate it, but regardless, this little thing is awesome. And if you really want to get into this craft and want to master a camera, try to find one used and just get a Nikon D3400. I absolutely love this thing. And with it being 2020 now, it's almost around the corner. It's December currently when I'm recording this and uploading this, but it's right around the corner. Ask for it for Christmas. It's seriously, it's a great little camera. That's pretty much where I leave off. I mean, go out there, go create. Thank you so much for watching my mediocre video. Feel free to relentlessly bully me in the comments below because I'm very new to this, and any criticism helps me get better. If you have any questions or concerns, just comment them below and I'll see if I can answer some of them. And I'll make sure to leave all the links to the gear that I purchased. Obviously, not the prices that I purchased, but the ones that I got into. I'll leave that all in the comments below. And that's pretty much going to be it for this video. It's not going to be the 20-minute one that I had the other day, but it's just a little video kind of talking about why I think this camera is still relevant in 2020 and why you should get into it. But that's pretty much going to be it. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Josh Alexander, and I'll see you next time.